So my experience with Telebu is almost like goes back about 10 years now. And I started off as a marketer, as a product marketer, and with almost no experience really marketing a product, right? So I came from a completely different background. And then I found myself in a tech company. So I did a lot of research just to come up to speed, like just so I don't make a fool of myself around my peers or people I work with. So I would do a lot of research on not just our product or competitors, but people in that industry. So just big names, brands that everyone is aware of. Just so like I said, just so I can be on the same page with everyone else in the room. So having started off as a marketer, I realized very quickly that I'm not cut out to do like hardcore sales, because I would accompany salespeople and go and make a pitch as a product expert. And I realized I'm not very good at closing or asking for money. So I kind of stuck to a pre-sales role for the most part, where I would understand the need, propose a solution, and then so on and so forth. So early on, as part of that role, what I also did was I studied a lot of customer support queries. So I would look at all the issues that came up and how we would solve those issues. And because I was in that marketing role, I would look at how we could turn these issues into a strength that we could talk about, right? So, for example, if somebody said my messages aren't getting delivered, then I would look into what are all the reasons why a message may not get delivered, and then use that in the marketing copy to say, we do this better than competition. So we deliver more of your messages than anyone else, as an example, right? So in that sense, when I was studying these issues from customer support, I realized that there's a lot of knowledge with customer support, because they on a day-to-day basis, they talk to customers, they're solving issues. So they're both problem experts and solution experts in a way that really no one else in the company comes close to, right? So as I started moving up that experience ladder, I started getting further away from the customers over time. And every time I want to feel good about what I do, I try and go back to customer support and see what issues keep coming. So either through an email, through recorded calls, chats, and so on. So I think in that sense, my experience started in marketing, but slowly found its way to customer support. And as a yeah, I also started to realize the role that customer support plays is more crucial sometimes than anybody else, right? Because until there is a fire, there is no requirement of a fireman or a fire hose. But if you don't put out the fire, then it's trouble for everyone. So I feel in a way customer support is both important and undervalued. So over my time, since I transitioned to a customer support role, I tried to put the spotlight on the customer support team. So we started focusing more on, getting them better knowledge, better skills. Just putting the spotlight on their work was my initial effort. So that's how, I kind of transitioned here. See, to be honest, right, I only directly trained outbound calling reps. So, like I said, I worked in multiple roles. And when I was early on, we used to pitch a new product. I was assigned with coming up with the phone pitch, the email that had to go out, the sequence of emails sometimes. So that time I would personally make calls and at the same time people to train people to make the cold pitch. So cold pitch, like is both very stressful. It creates a lot of anxiety for most people. But at the same time, I think the skills that go into training somebody to make a cold call, I think are immense. So I took some of those learnings and we applied it to a customer support rep. Although, like I said, I didn't directly train them. We use some of those principles. So, for example, I think just showing empathy to a customer when they come with an issue, uh, when they say, "Hey, there's something is not happening," just trying to figure out what that means for the customer, I think is a big shift, rather than saying, okay, so what is your username? So let's say somebody comes to you and says, my order is not coming on time. I can't start by saying, what is your, can I confirm your registered mobile number? I'd probably begin by saying, I'm really sorry that you're starving and your food is not on time. So just that kind of empathy is what we try to bring through obviously training and other things. Uh, but you know, training obviously is important, but what I realized also in training is most times we spend a lot of time, especially new employees. They say, they put them through some months, weeks of training, and then they say, you're now ready to start talking to customers or solving issues. So we try to bring an assessment process into place. I think that is one of the things that we've adopted. I'm sure a lot of other people also do it, but one of the things we try to do is we try to make everybody in the support team a trainer in some sense. So even somebody in month zero or month one, not knowing much about support, could train people in certain topics. So what we did was we divided all of the support modules into multiple sub modules, and then we tried to assign different people to different sub modules and get them to train everyone. So from a one trainer, many trainees, we made many trainers, many trainee model, right? Through assessments, I suppose. So I think that was a big shift, and I think assessment is a. Yeah, I would think so. But again, there's also sometimes, more senior people might think that, what the hell is she or train me on. But I think, yeah, so we've tried it. I can't say we've been entirely successful, but definitely something we've tried. And with the right use of tools and tech, I think we should advocate more for a many trainer model where everybody is on the team is responsible for training, right? So again, like I said, the training has to happen with some kind of a measurement in place, is what I think, right? So it's important to know where someone, like what level somebody is at in a minor topic before they move on to a major topic. Now, if somebody's mastered one product, and who's maybe worked in that process for, let's say, 6 to 9 months, and there's really not much more to learn, we typically try and move them on to another product. But at the same time, it's really hard to, especially for a multi-product support team, it's really hard to train one person to service multiple products. I just think that's not very practical. At the same time, I think to enhance customer support, the overall skill sets, it's not just training for that product or process, but I think it's also important to get them to widen their horizon a little bit. So again, it's not something we've done very well. We've tried it in bits and pieces, but we've not implemented it very well. But I think an example could be maybe making a presentation or maybe even recording videos. So one thing we realized is when you get people to make training videos, a lot of their fears sort of surface, and they try and overcome those fears with multiple attempts, right? So that's one thing we realized. Maybe we could get them to learn something around AI now, that a lot of times people are using AI to make not just regular content like writing, but also videos and so on. So I feel training on those wider topics also helps in kind of broadening your horizons. Yeah. Um, So I think number one is definitely assessments at the early level. I think that's one thing we've found pretty successful, where it's almost like a self-service model now, where a person comes in, they watch a bunch of videos, they take a few assessments. I think they're built on Google Forms, and they also have to record some videos. And the best part about video recordings is you can really assess them yourselves, whether you've done well or not. You don't need somebody to tell you if that video is a 5 on 5 or a 3 on 5, right? So that ways, the person has all this do-it-yourself material. At the same time, because we're 100% remote, and support is like a job where you don't really have control over your time always, right? Sometimes it's a lot of pressure, sometimes it's more easygoing. So in times like this, we realized having a buddy to be there with you through this onboarding process helps. So we try to assign one person to kind of play the role of a buddy for all the new joinees. So I think these two things really helped. I think people learned by overhearing others earlier. You're sitting with your colleagues on the same desk, like, one arm distance away, and you could literally overhear them. You could peep into their computers. You could pretty much learn, which is like not in a structured, formal, deliberate way. But I think with online and working remotely, everything's become more transactional, deliberate. It's all to the point, right? Everything is staged or tried to be choreographed in a way so we get maximum productivity and so on. I think there's again, let's not get into work from home versus office, but I think to answer your question, informal learning versus formal learning, I think that's the big one. And also, people learned more about each other, personalities and quirks and other things which were not strictly work related at office. But here, working from home and remote, I think we're almost always talking about something around a client or work or project, and it doesn't give us that opportunity to know more each other on a personal level. So I think these are the two big big differences. See, I would imagine that everybody has issues all the time, right? So nothing works according to a plan. So I think in any product or service, things are bound to go wrong, and I think also customers expect that things may not always work as intended or as promised. That said, a lot of times the heat is taken by the first line of defense, right? Which is your customer service reps, either on a phone or email or chat. And by the time it reaches the next level, it's usually escalated, saying that I want to talk to a manager or I want to talk to somebody higher up. And I think the reason for this is they just want a sense of assurance that whoever they speak to will assure them that it is being taken care of. So I think our skills move from direct problem solving to kind of situation handling, right? So, and I, honestly, I can't think of so many situations that have come to me because the guys that work with me, the girls that work with me are really good at what they do, and they normally don't come to me. But if they did, then yeah, I would pretty much do what they did. Just another voice trying to tell them that everything will be all right. See, this is not something that maybe some companies or larger companies formally train people in, listening skills or empathy skills and so on. But that's not something we've done here. Um, I think the way, like, I mean, again, like I said, I've not directly trained customer support reps, but I would imagine that we learn again through imitation, through observing somebody who does it well, right? How they just listen to a customer. Somebody may be really irritated or really almost like ballistic about some issue, and it's just how this other person on the other end is calm, right? It's something I don't think that can be taught in a formal training session. I think over time you just observe and see that colleague A handles these kind of situations well, and I want to be like her or him. And this situation B and some other colleague does that well. So it's more learning through that observation. And because online we don't have those abilities to observe other people in action, and this is where I think buddies come in, and they take up these difficult calls with the trainees or the newer people. So it's mostly through observation that they learn how to handle it. And I also think somewhat it's inbuilt. Again, I think empathy is something that can't be taught to somebody, right? uh, you're either a sensitive person or you're not, I think. So we make it in our hiring process itself. Hiring for those skills is something we try to do, and we go terribly wrong many times. But then again, so I think hiring is where it's at, and then in the training process itself, you realize whether somebody is empathetic or not, somebody is a good listener or not, and then I think they'll figure out in real time. Uh, so I usually ask them if that has been communicated to this person. So many times when people come to me, especially it could be between two colleagues of a similar level, or it could be two like a level apart. And if they came to me, I think the first piece of, I wouldn't say advice, but the first thing I would ask them is if they talk to the person directly, like if the feedback delivered to this person. And sometimes, actually, most times they tell me that uh, no, they're reporting this to me. So usually when it comes to me, I would have to end up talking to that person. But I would prefer if the person who has this problem first talks to the person directly, and then they come to me. Because imagine the other way around, right? If this person has not delivered the feedback directly and it came through me, then the relation between these two people is never going to be great. It's always going to be like a higher manager or somebody was involved, whereas you could have directly delivered the feedback. So that's the first thing I would check on. The other thing is, uh, maybe we would ask questions about what could we have done differently, or maybe a different situation we could put them in, just to see what else they're capable of. Because usually looking at it from like one problem or one situation with a narrow lens doesn't fully do justice to that person. So I think we would try two or three different situations, and then maybe decide on what to do next. Got it. This happened some time back, and we brought this, the one many trainers, many trainees model. We also brought it to hiring, right? So we tried to get the most junior or the newest people in the company or the team to also interview potential candidates, and didn't matter if they were more senior. Um, the reason we did this was we wanted different points of view early on, and so we could debate whether or not to hire somebody, just so we could understand each other better. So hiring or interview process was another thing we tried to do, so we got to know each other better. And during one of those calls, um, one colleague came to me and she said, "You know what? I think we have to hire people who've had a tough life, like people who've struggled a lot in support. And I said, so why do you say that? She said, they know what it is like to be treated nicely or to treat other people well. Right. So I think just ability to treat somebody well, regardless of how you're feeling, you're having a bad day or a difficult time with a customer. I think just able to smile and take it on your chin and treat them well is the first sign of customer support. So that includes empathy, listening well, all of those things. The second thing is, I think just being available, because, like I said, customer support is the most crucial uh, part of a business. You are in a position to help somebody when nobody else can, only you can. So just being there when you're not expected to, I think, is the second skill. So just when people come and say I go above and beyond, I'm thinking in my head that's kind of expected from this role, right? Going above and beyond is the basic expectation. That's also because, like I said, there's nobody else. The managers are not going to be on the shift. In fact, if you ask me, I don't even know how to solve an issue sometimes. I'll have to start with how do I log in? How do I check? So if that person is not there beyond a certain expected hour, like if they're not extending their shift if they need to, then who else is, right? So I think these two things are number one and two for me. And what is something that I don't like is um, when you give out like robotic canned responses. Um, and also, it could be like something as silly as good morning or good evening or good, I mean, like, have a nice day. If you don't mean it, don't say it. So, similarly, if you don't have anything to add on your own, then you shouldn't probably say something, is how I would look at it. So, no canned responses. So, canned responses are meant to guide you to like not make a mistake or not screw up, but doesn't mean that you use a canned response like please find attached or as forwarded, because as a support person, if you're not fully in line with what is happening and you don't add your own personal communication to it, then you're not adding much value. You're just forwarding something from one person to another. So I think that their role should be, how do I make it easier for the person receiving my email or text or call, right? Whether it's your colleague or your salesperson or your customer, I think that should be the approach. But when it's a canned response, you know that they're being lazy or they don't care enough, right? So I think that